Right, the next one is the Christchurch Stadium Trust, Tim Shanahan. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you to all of you Mayor and Councillors for the opportunity to speak to you today on behalf of the Christchurch Stadium Trust. While both Lauren and I have met with most of you or all of you in various settings, just for the sake of introductions, I'm Tim Shanahan, CEO of the Stadium Trust, and beside me is Lauren Semple, one of our trustees. Also appropriate to identify David East as one of our trustees as well.
So you have our submission in front of you. The central mandate for the Christchurch Stadium Trust is to manage and keep open the temporary stadium. And so we appreciate the provision that has been made in the draft long-term plan for some financial contribution from the council towards particularly operational maintenance and capital renewals and replacement at the stadium. We've worked with council staff to identify an appropriate sum of money, and that is reflected in the long-term plan. I would say that it doesn't quite make up for what has been lost in terms of sponsorship that has come to an end. Those contracts, I think, as we spoke to you about previously, were contracts that were designed to go for the life of the stadium as we first thought it would be, and those have now come to a natural conclusion. However, we do think that with that sort of contribution from the council, we are able to keep the stadium operating, at least in terms of the sort of timeframes that we understand are in place in terms of when a new facility might be available. We do make the point in our submission that as time goes on, there will be additional and increased requirements in terms of maintenance and capital expenditure, and that will obviously need to be factored in, but certainly in the time frame that we're thinking about at the moment, the provision that's made in the long-term plan is very reasonable and will certainly assist us considerably to ensure that Christchurch continues to have an operational stadium. We do make some comments about other matters in terms of when a new stadium might be, and also Christchurch, New Zealand. I'm happy to answer questions on those, as would be Tim, or indeed to answer any other questions that you might have. But I certainly want to make the point that our central mandate is ensuring the temporary stadium remains operational short term.
Thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions? Yanni and then Glenn.
Thank you. I just wondered if you'd looked at any different models or operating structures. I mean, prior to the earthquake, obviously we had V-Base as a council organisation running the stadium, and given how much money we're putting into the Stadium Trust, or you know, the different financial arrangements that you've got with V-Base, have you looked at any other model that might actually get better opportunity to reduce the ongoing costs? In terms of not having a stadium trust, but actually having an existing entity take over it?
I guess the reality for us is our trust deed identifies that we are responsible to central government. Government contributed the bulk of the funds for that venue, and therefore our obligation is to deliver to the expectations of central government. So in terms of looking at alternate models, I think it would be fair to suggest we haven't done so. However, I also think it would be fair to say if you look at our operating costs, a significant amount of those costs are actually paid to V-Base to provide the operational capacity for when the stadium is open, and the costs that relate to the existence of a stadium trust are fairly minimal in our overall budget.
Very good. Glenn?
Thank you. I'm trying to see how, and thank you for your submission, and given that you've entered into that conversation in and over a new arena, I'm just trying to see from a return on investment perspective how a new arena would actually work, because I can't see how it could. Have you got any comments over that, how you would measure that?
You can start.
I'm going to start.
Of how, you know, return on investment is usually measured?
I think when you're looking at return on investment for a stadium, first and foremost, you need to set your parameters in terms of what is an acceptable outcome. And if you look at stadium throughout New Zealand and stadium worldwide, the acceptable parameters aren't always a break-even or return on investment percentage. There is a component of having a stadium provides community opportunities and makes a city interesting and able to deliver something that will be of benefit and appreciated by the citizens. So it's a matter of understanding that first and foremost. Secondly, in terms of return on investment, this is where it becomes very critical when you are deciding what you are going to build, what it is you want to achieve with the venue. Because the Stadium Trust authored a pre-feasibility study last year. We identified a number of possible options. For each of those options, we gave indications as to what we felt would be the number of events that venue could host and what the likely return would be in terms of revenue generated by hosting various events. So I think it's very important that in making a decision, you have to understand if you go with a cheaper option, it is likely going to also mean you are no longer in a position to host certain events, and therefore the return will likely diminish.
So in terms of pure actual taxpayer, ratepayer, usual measures by which the public has a view over ROI, it's still not going to stack up.
It's still not going to stack up, but if you put it in the context of, and I'm happy to be told my figures are incorrect, but I'm going to put them out there because I believe they are correct. Dunedin City Council currently puts somewhere around $8 million a year into Forsyth Bar. Wellington City Council and Wellington Regional Council put in an amount per year plus additional for capital replacement. And I believe 2 years ago it was an amount of $5 or $6 million for work done on the concourses at Westpac Stadium. So you've got a situation where councils are making an informed decision that they will put investment into these venues and not necessarily on the basis of return on investment, but it also comes down to how you want to measure that return on investment. Dunedin seem very happy with the returns on investment they've had from events like Ed Sheeran.
Thank you. Phil?
Can I just ask you about some of your future projections? Like currently, from council, there's 250,000 on the operations and 450,000 on the capital part. So, and you were already indicating, I think, in your submission that there was a way of that working, given that the stadium will be the new multipurpose arena would go ahead. If the multipurpose arena was delayed, can you give us any idea of projected costs, say in the longer term, for the current AMI stadium?
We sat here, I think it might have been May last year, and we presented some financial projections with regard to going to 2022, 2025 and beyond. Top of my head, I think we said that if we went to 2022 and we had all of the existing financial obligations, which include the demolition and paying off the council loan, we're projecting we might come up about $8 million short, and if you're going to take us to 2025, we might come up $12 million short. So we have done that information, we've presented it previously to council. I don't believe those numbers have changed significantly since that presentation was given, but if the decision through this long-term plan process is that 2025 is no longer the target, then it would be prudent for us to do new figures for whatever new data is identified so that we are providing council with clarity as to what those costs may be.
Thanks, Tim.
All right. Well, look, thank you very much, and it's much appreciated what you do. I know that we had a very powerful submission the other day from the Crusaders, and that they said how emotional it was to go out on that pitch on the day it opened, and it has been an important venue for the for the city. So thank you very much for what you do in terms of running it and keeping it going on a temporary basis.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.